get into, need to think about what we're doing, need to be conscious.
Hello, Austin, Texas. Jeff Davis on show on tour. KJFK Studios. Fixing to go on a program out here. KJFK 98.9.
Like some of these feminist groups do.
In my arms. Yeah, that's Alex Jones, baby. All right, we're talking about some serious issues today. We're talking about how they got us divided. It should not be front page news that Fuzzy Zeller said something racist, even though he's an old, fat racist. Who cares about an old, fat racist that says something about an awesome man, Asian African American, who's worth probably $100 million? Who cares about words? We're Americans. We're all together in this boat. The man with the plan is here, Jeff Davis. What do you have to say?
It's like you said, Alex, keep the small fish in turmoil so the big fish can rob and rule over. So
that's it.
That's the game plan.
That's it. You're hitting the nail right on the head. And I've talked to you so many times. I've been on your television program. You've been on my television program. And I've seen some of the fantastic interviews you've done with people I've seen all over the news. Whether it's, the head people for Republic of Texas or whoever. Just all these diverse groups, militia leaders and people. And always, I hear these people being degraded and called these vicious people. And then when I meet them in person, they're nice as can be. They're not armed. They don't have a truckload of explosives. They try to heap us in with these nuts. It's just a lie.
Weeks ago Saturday, and we interviewed John Trockman, the head of the militia of Montana, Jack McLam, the head of Operation Vampire Killer 2000, Police Against the New World Order. And by the way, that's what we're up against, this oligarchy, a financial elite.
You got
it. The Federal Reserve.
Oh, I want to say something real fast, and then I'll let you go. People always telling me the conspiracy isn't real. What I'm saying is conspiracy is real. I have here the preeminent worldwide, all politicians have read this a dozen times. This is Machiavellian. He was a prince. The famous analysis of statesmanship, statesmanship and power. And, that was back when Italy was all divided up over 400 years ago. And this says, the world-renowned study reveals the techniques and strategy of gaining and keeping political control. And this is a famous book. There's probably as many of these in print, almost as much as the Bible. People have been reading these for 400 years, and listen to the back. Conspiracy. A prince, and then it goes on to say, a prince need trouble little about conspiracies when the people are well disposed. But when they are hostile and hold him in hatred, then he must fear everything and everybody. And it goes on, Machiavelli. And this is the basis of all modern politics. It doesn't matter what you do, winning is the key, is what these kind of degenerates think. This guy was the ultimate in Italy. Totally controlled things, people killed, everybody loved him. Because he knew how to manipulate and divide. And people today, if you talk about it, they'll say, if you talk about subterfuge and power, you're a conspiracy nut. And I think they're full of it.
Well, we don't. Our particular show, Alex, and the people that are involved with me aren't concerned about what the so-called establishment media is saying, because quite frankly, the establishment media is in on the scam.
But it sucks in so many people.
The point that we're trying to elaborate to people is that they are being manipulated. There is a power behind the scenes. Started with Adam Weishaupt, 1776, when he created a doctrine called the Order of the Illuminati, at which that time he stated that he would, through international finance, via the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the International Bank of Settlements, would one day buy up the world, and that's exactly what they've done. And since that point, since they control resources at the top, they've been able to finance various different front groups like the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations, the World Council of Churches.
Let me stop you right there. Every one of those groups is real. I've seen them on C-SPAN. I've read the Council on Foreign Relations bi-monthly book they put out. You can buy it at Barnes & Noble or any major bookstore, and it's called, the name of it is called Foreign Affairs and World Politics. And the thing in there says, welcome to the New World Order. Do you know your way around? And this is the biggest industry in the world, is corrupt international banking. I don't mean local banking. And it's real. They're out in the open. But the little serfs, the little idiots, because Peter Jennings doesn't tell them, and I don't mean to be mean, but they are, they just go, Big Mac cheeseburger, please. That's all I care about. And I just try to say to them, you idiot, it's real. It's real. It's right here in front of your face. And they just go, no, it's conspiracy. Everything is wonderful. I never question anything.
Well, what we've got here, Alex, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, you bet.
KJFK.
Big fan of yours, Jeff.
What we've got here, basically, like I stated earlier, is a financial oligarchy who have, through the control of resources at the top, have been able to create all these different front groups, both political, religious, and whatnot. And through these different front groups, left wing, right wing, etc., they have created a mechanism to keep us fighting amongst ourselves, keep us divided up, give people the opportunity, the thought that they are in control of their own destiny when in fact they are not. And the fact is, their goal has been for over 200 years now. They want what they stated on the back of our dollar bill, and that is a new world order.
But how could people continue this for 200 years? Simple. It's bloodlines. There's about 10 powerful degenerate families who think.
And then they get. But let me just explain how this. It's like a pyramid scheme.
It is a Ponzi
And they
scheme.
get everybody, all the different local medias and all the different middlemen to go along with it, duped, mainly out of ignorance, and they put them on the payroll. The better agent you are, the higher you are put up on the echelon. It is a conspiracy of control at the top. All of us down here are serfs, and that's evident with things like the Korea War, the Vietnam War, where our young 18 and 19-year-old kids were sent off to 10,000 miles away from home for no better reason than these international bankers can get richer, and that's essentially what on all of these occasions, these oligarchies are financing both sides.
Well,
playing enemies upon the American people, presenting enemies to them so they will submit their young 18, 19-year-old boys to go fight and die in the swamps of Vietnam, where in fact all it is just a money-making racket for money, power, control.
Oh, yeah.
That's all it is. And I want to also mention that this also ties into the religious realms as well. What I call the obey Caesar churches. You've got the World Council of Churches.
Lay down to big government. Lay down.
Right, don't obey Caesar. But let me just
don't ever stand up to anybody. Just be a servant.
It's what it is, and it's so it's a political control. It's a religious control of the mind, and then of course the Antichrist media, and that's essentially what it is.
well, I like that little funny term.
They play the game, like you mentioned earlier. The big issue of this week, is Fuzzy Zeller making some stupid comment about some other golfer. Now this is the kind of issue that
we're not worried about the drugs that are pouring.
We're not worried about
FBI
the enemy
bringing absolutely
the enemy bringing drugs in here. We're not talking about the Committee of 300 bringing drugs in here. We're not talking about these government training centers
hold
called
on.
public education.
Excuse me, sir. None of this is real. You can't prove one single thread of what you're saying. How dare you? You are a serious travesty. In fact, I am very afraid of you militant-type people. No one in powerful positions thinks how to accentuate and drive forward their power. No, everything magically happens in this world, Mr. Davis. And
It's all happening by coincidence.
That's right. It's a coincidence theory. If you had any understanding of social dynamism in this world today, you would understand. But obviously you don't. No. I want a car salesman, the media, walks up to you, this analogy, and says, don't ask me any questions about this car, just buy it. Because if you ask me any questions, you're a conspiracy theorist, and you'll be shunned, and you'll be laughed at for thinking that there could be any manipulation and control. Forget the fact. Don't ever ask any questions. Never look under the waters. Never think that, that anything could be going on. And past that, something that really angers me, and I'm glad you're here to talk about this, is that CIA people have defected now. It's come forward. It's been on Discovery Channel on, CIA Secret Warriors. I saw on Discovery Channel that the CIA people admitting that they've been running in drugs since 1945 and after to fund secret operations. FBI crime labs, it was in the paper, even the Osprey State's been printed it, that they admitted it, and now they're calling it a mistake. But FBI agents came forward and said, I admit it. We have been tampering with evidence. I submit the lab evidence. It's done, and then my superiors change it to whatever they want, and that's called a mistake by the Austin American statesman.
Let me add that the Federal Reserve is unquestionably the biggest scam in the history of the world. Passed December 23rd, 1913. The Federal Reserve Act was passed, which created a central bank. Now, keep in mind, Alex, all throughout the history of America, they've been trying to ram these central banks.
They finally got it in 1913, didn't they?
Well, 1932 they had one. Andrew Jackson killed it. But even through Lincoln's time, when he issued the greenbacks and was resisting the Rothschild banking establishment at that time.
He got shot in the back of the head for that, didn't he?
But in 1913,
just like Kennedy started
let me give you direct evidence of what I'm talking about here. Our medium of exchange used to be backed by silver and gold, backed by something of value, meaning all of us here could take our medium of exchange and go get a certain amount of silver or gold for it. And our coinage was also had silver in it.
It was real, so that left
Right.
the power with the people, and you couldn't have money manipulators.
These bankers are so excuse my French, but they are so greedy that they have now reduced us down to a Federal Reserve note, which is a promissory to pay, which is backed by faith.
It's monopoly
and they
money.
Have even,
Monopoly money.
And they've even taken the silver out of our coinage as of 1973. This is how greedy these bankers are as far as how they're manipulating our money system. So this is direct evidence. Anybody that
You got it. Well, let's
that
see what
follows
David's
them-
got to say about this. Jeff, you're making some great points.
Thank you.
Hello, they're going and shooting ducks like Hillary Clinton wants to make you think. Militias are there. They're the teeth and the strength of the Constitution. Without firearms, evil men and tyrants flourish. And
Let me answer that.
that's why we've got to have it. It wasn't put there for hunting. Sure.
Yeah, I've got National Guardsmen and the military are under control of the state. That's what that is. They're paid by the state. They're on the payroll of the state. So if we're contending, and I am,
We need a counterbalance.
that this particular state and corporate de facto government that we're living under is fraudulent, corrupt, and treasonous, then we have to have some kind of counterbalance, meaning militias, an armed militia outfit that's independent from the state, not on the state payroll, to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government.
David? Out and you shoot a policeman on the side of the street for no reason, you should be hung high, electrocuted.
You should shoot anybody.
Absolutely. We're not condoning violence.
What I'm contending, now I'm not speaking for Alex, but what I'm contending, Jeff Davis here on this program, is that this current treasonous government that's nothing more than a puppet government for the New World Order is the threat to our national security.
That's what George Bush calls
and we need to have, if we can't take this government back through elections, which I believe are fraudulent, through the normal means that we're supposed to be able to take our country back, then by golly, if they keep taking our rights away from us, continue to pound their New World Order agenda on us, then we have no other choice, I believe, than to take up the Second Amendment.
Well, David, do you have any closing comments? Because we're fixing to roll into a break. Yes, folks, me and Jeff Davis will be back. We don't want to control your life. We don't want to tell you how to live. We don't want to do any of this. All we want you to do is think for yourself and realize that we need some counterbalances to the rapid onset of the growth of military in this country. And I mean police forces. I've had SWAT team commanders, police tell me they don't like what's going on. They think things are fishy. They know too much federal money's coming into local police forces. And here it is right here, the New York Times, Wednesday, April 23rd, 1997. Whitewater Council, this is last Wednesday's, Whitewater Council says he has evidence of obstruction of justice. Now listen to this, and I'll go to the calls. Back to Jeff. Washington, April 22nd. The Whitewater prosecutor, Kenneth W. Starr, told a federal court today that he had found extensive evidence of obstruction of justice and that he needed more time to complete his investigation, which is centered on the political and personal affairs of President Clinton and his wife Hillary. Under Janet Reno in the Justice Department and Louis Freeh in the FBI. They're doing his bidding, and Clinton is fixing to get in some serious trouble. The only question is he's exercising so much power, people are afraid of him. So check it out. That's the New York Times, a bastion of corrupt information. It's so deep now, and the alternative press has been pumping this out for years, that now the New York Times has lost so much credibility, they're having to at least put some of the truth in here just to cover their butts. So there you go. It's really hardcore. Jeff, I mean, what do you think about that? Now the New York Times is even starting to admit that Clinton's been intimidating witnesses. We've known this for years. They're for Clinton. And I'm not saying Clinton did that, but a lot of weirdness has gone on. Commerce Secretary and DNC Chairman Ron Brown's plane blew up over Eastern Europe. Vince Foster, the list goes on and on. And top reporters for major newspapers and magazines have been fired for printing stuff about Vince Foster.
Well, I don't put a lot of my faith, Alex, in the New York Times.
I don't either.
The establishment media. The fact is, it don't take the New York Times to convince me that we got a government running amok. All you got to do is look at Mickey Weaver, who was shot in the head, 14-year-old Sam Weaver,
pregnant,
who was shot in the back.
And she also had a baby
at
in her
Ruby
arms.
Ridge, Idaho, and 80-some plus people that were torched in Waco, Texas.
But they were extremists.
Over 4 years
Those children
ago.
deserve to die, Jeff,
Very
because
right.
They deserve to die.
We don't need.
They had guns in that
this
compound.
This New York Times is soft soap that this government is running amok.
It's a soft soap.
All you got to do is look at the facts, and you will see that this government is running amok. It's criminal, and
well, I want you to go back and tell us about the Ruby Ridge incident, because I heard all this in the media that he was supposedly this this evil guy or whatever, and he comes in crying before him. He said, "I've just been in Vietnam and I wasn't racist. I wanted to go buy some property and raise some crops, and and the FBI kept messing with us and filming us, and then one day they shot the dog. We ran down, we heard it yelping, and my son got shot in the back. My pregnant wife live about a year and a half ago.
14-year-old Sam Weaver
shot in the
back by Lon
Well, what about the
Berucci.
pregnant woman? The pregnant woman with the baby in her arms.
The fact is, these people...
Pieces of her skull went into the baby's face.
These people, Alex, are criminals wearing badges.
That's
under
it.
the disguise of badges, they're criminals under the disguise of law enforcement. And these people need to be indicted. Same thing in Waco, Texas.
It's hardcore.
Where they took tanks into a building and with men, women, and children on the other side, and proceeded to drive that tank into that structure, which ultimately killed some of the people from blood force from the wall coming down on the tops of the heads of some of these people. And on this line, let me just mention, this is a good time to mention this. We were up at Waco last Saturday for the memorial service, 4th End memorial service, and we actually interviewed on the Jeff Davis show a fellow named Mike McNulty, who was the producer of the new movie coming out. It's called Waco Rules of Engagement. And it's going to be playing at the Dobie Theater.
That's a good place.
Starting at May the 2nd through the 8th.
A lot of good documentaries.
We've got free tickets. Our show's going down there. Some of the Davidians are coming down from Waco, possibly.
Those extremists should be killed.
To preview the movie.
They should pump more CS
gas into the compound. May the 2nd, Adobe Mall, Waco Rules of Engagement, and supposedly, Alex, apparently, I haven't seen it, but apparently it does show evidence not only that the tanks were going through the structure, but also through the infrared technology now that's being released. It was showing where you could see sniper bullets shooting at the people that the 51st day on April 19 of 93, where some of the Davidians were trying to escape the building when it went up in flames. You could see sniper bullets actually gunning down some of these people that were escaping from this building. So this is a movie that I think...
Where's this going to be showing?
Dobie Mall Theater, May 2nd through the 8th.
Well, listen, Jeff, that is just damning evidence. I mean, that, and all I know is I, you know, regardless of what kind of people were up there at Waco, and I've seen them on your show, they seem like really nice, sweet people, but irregardless of what was going on up there,
right.
But irregardless, you don't pump in. Hold on.
Let me just make the point.
Hold on. You don't pump in CS gas,
Right
a
now.
banned gas since 1969, into a building with children. One little whiff of that will make you throw up and make your eyes water.
Not only that, right
It's a
now
banned
you've
chemical
got
weapon.
Richard McLaren, who's a friend of mine, I've had him on my
Yes.
show. He's the head of the Republic of Texas. Right now, they're demonizing him to the point.
I saw him on Nightline. He was on your show.
Regardless of what the characters
They
and what
degrade
these
him on
people
Nightline.
are saying, Alex, because
Yeah.
they could say the same thing about us.
You bet they can.
The fact is, we cannot have a government going around killing people, and that's exactly what's happened. That happened to Gordon Call, that happened to Ruby Ridge, that happened to Waco, and these are just the incidents that we're hearing about. The fact is that we have a government that's running amok, that's criminal, acting outside and above the law that they place for us. And this is the situation that we're now under. So if this first caller wanted to ask why we should we should be strong on the Second Amendment, these are pretty good reasons why.
Absolutely. Well, we've got to go to from anybody. I don't want anybody to follow me back to any cult compound or nothing. I'm not an extremist. I want people to think about, well, I am an extremist because everybody else is so bland and so twisted and so weird and so ready to lay down to this slavery. I guess I am an extremist.
Yes, I am too.
Absolutely. And one quick thing. I apologize to Blue, Dave, and Charlie. We'll be back in a few minutes, and I promise you we'll go straight to your calls. We here at KJFK believe strenuously in the First, Second, Third, Fourth Amendment, but we don't like that 16th Amendment. Now, I promised that we'll go to the callers, and I appreciate them holding. Blue, you've been a saint. How you doing?
Berg meeting that where they officially declared Clinton was going to be their puppet candidate. Is that the one you're referring to, or? Okay, go ahead.
I want to tell you that Clinton is a member, a triple member, Bilderbergers, Trial Commission, and the CFR. And rat excrement.
Nothing but an. In fact, he's been groomed since a young boy. He groomed out of Arkansas. Where's it? Rockefeller Special Interstate. Groomed as a young boy.
Oh, absolutely. That's why
That's why he became a governor at an early age. Became the president early because he's been groomed all along to be a perfect.
I want to stop you right there. I want to stop you right there, Jeff. You said it's a Rockefeller Special Interstate. That's true. The Rockefellers send their sons and their nephews down.
Governor Nelson.
And they've had a couple senators from there. So we're go ahead, it's hardcore.
Go ahead.
Get that out there. He said on a CFR meeting that I saw on C-SPAN, 6-8 months ago, I can't remember now. I've actually shown it on my television program. He says that we have to get this population under control. We may need forced sterilization and infanticide just isn't cutting it. That was his exact words.
Hey, Blue, let me just quickly answer. I'm not slave masters, the global rulers, the wicked devils that create finance wars, do believe that there are too many feeders on the planet. So they are devising programs through abortion, warfare, creation of different diseases, and I'm going to just touch upon this. I believe that they have the technology to manipulate weather patterns to create droughts, maybe in Africa or whatnot, to starve people. They've also used one of their main mechanisms, the UN, which has, through economic sanctions, literally starved hundreds of thousands of Iraqi women and children.
That's true.
So the fact is, they are implementing population control programs at this point.
Now, I have to tell you something, Jeff.
They believe that the slave masters believe that there's too many feeders on the planet, so they need to eliminate a certain number of them.
Well, what they do is, with those kind of international treaties, we have to obey them. If the president pushes it through and then the Congress ratifies it, then what happens is we have to abide by those because we've made it one of our laws. And part of it, under all this lovely rules and things, is that the police can bust in your house. Hold on.
Let Blue.
Sure, go ahead.
Go ahead, Blue. I'm sorry.
I keep seeing stuff on Discovery Channel and A&E, and it's the Russians have got brag around Moscow that they can clear the air with these weather control antennas that charge the atmosphere, and it's a bunch of technical mumbo jumbo. But what they do is they just pump electricity into the upper atmosphere. They've got planes that can release chemicals and do whatever they want. So I don't know what Jeff's talking about.
They've also got a system called HARP in Alaska. But let me just mention something to you, Blue. First off, I appreciate your call.
I'm just saying all this has even been in the mainstream
and
press.
I want to just mention to you that if you have any information, we are very receptive to information. We have a 24-hour comment line from our television show. I don't know exactly where you're calling from, but it's area code 512-370-9558. It was like a 30-second introduction. Let me give it to you again. It's area code 512-370-9558. And if you have any information that you think that we can definitely verify, we'll put it on our program.
Sure, you can, Blue.
Thanks, Blue. God bless you, dear.
Take care of yourself. We got a whole bunch of callers. Let's go ahead and go to Dave. Dave, how you doing? Yes, but all they do is taste. I have not been in the Marines, but I've had family that has been. I have a lot of friends that have been. They say you take your mask off for about 20 seconds, you put it back on, then run out and throw up generally. So, yes, so these are little kids in a compound, and they pump in thousands of liquid gallons that then turns to gas. They were immersed in it.
In a house.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
Not a compound.
Yeah, well,
talking about
see?
Public opinion being against these folks.
Absolutely. I use their spin, and they use language to control, the way we see things.
I love Mike Hanson Archives.
You ready to run?
Had a Freemasonry in the Skull and Bones, which
George
W. Bush and George Bush and several of your high-profile politicians are.
And they're far from Jewish.
Sat in it. That's the point. See, when you start talking about Freemasonry, that doesn't necessarily. Your average Joe Freemason out here is just involved in the Shriners and all this kind of thing. But the fact is, when you start getting to the high level, 33 and a degree and above levels of Freemasonry, these people are in fact wicked, and many of them are plotting for this new world order, as Adam Weishaupt goals and dreams of world domination back in 1776. So the fact is, there are many people and different types of groups involved in this, and some of them happen to be Zionists, so that's where this tag
let's
comes,
back up real fast, Jeff.
that it's Jews involved in this.
Why don't you tell us what they're pushing for? Because I have to tell people, and I say this a lot, and people have to understand it. Our debt is $5.3 trillion. It's not being cut. It's expanding faster than it ever has, but there's this new talk that we're all safe now, we're all wonderful now, and that Bill Clinton's finally cutting the government. No, it's gotten bigger than it ever has during his administration. Now we're into his second administration. It's ballooning ever faster, and all federal government is locked in at 10% growth rates. We have to understand, in 19 years, there'll be an 82% federal tax bracket. It's out of control. Everything is going to be government soon, and we have to know that the biggest piece of
it already is.
I know, yes. Well, it's already controlled. Everything's controlled by the government, but everything is not government yet. But this is key. This is the key right here. $360 billion went just to pay interest to foreign banks, central banks, i.e. foreign governments in 1996. And since 1993, the majority of our debt is being financed by the Germans, the British, the Japanese, which who are far from Jewish again, because I want everybody to know I think the Jews are small players in this. So I run from any kind of anti-Semitism, and I know Jeff does too. That's why, because I mean, when the Augsburger Statesman wrote that about him, I've never heard that out of his mouth years ago. I know, and I've known Jeff about a year, it was a damn lie, because Jeff was real free talking around me, and he'll tell you just what he thinks. So that, and I've seen the Augsburger Statesman lie far too many times. So we're all not racist here, and I want to just reiterate that. So you're talk about, but I never do it because I get so excited to talk about all the key issues. But this is key too. I figured out this system, and it is a system of money making. Prison system is huge all over the country. It's one of the biggest industries in this country. You know, it's right behind a manufacturer of automobiles. Number one is paying interest on the debt. Then is the military. Then is entitlements, and then is law enforcement. And we've got to think about one key thing, and what you said is absolutely key. What they do is I saw Augsburger Statesman speaking to them the other day. They had this article, and it said this guy had raped and stabbed people before, gotten out, and did it again, and the second time he got life imprisonment, which is really about 7 to 14 years. They called that an extremely stiff sentence. That is not extremely stiff. What they do is that as the culture gets more and more violent, these criminals are at a premium. We need to have them in jail to build prisons, but then we let them out every couple of years so they can go out and create more crime, so crime stays up, so we all keep thinking we need more prisons. It's an endless cycle. So they let them out, they take them in. They let them out, they take them in. They tell us, oh, this is a big sentence. Ooh, 14 years, because that's really what most life sentences are here in Texas. So, and that's what police have told me, and lawyers and others. So think about that. The Augsburger Statesman is totally in league with the corrupt system. New form of tyranny.
Let me just mention
Absolutely.
something to this, Charlie. I agree with your premise. The fact is, we have become the largest prisons country in the world right now. And what you have here, I believe, is you have prison system sitting in with pot smokers, with people that run gambling pools, people that don't pay tickets and fines. What's happening is that this de facto corporate government is making all of us criminals, not because through victimless crimes, meaning that nobody is going out and hurting somebody else's life, property, or their interest. But what they are doing is making us all criminals, victimless criminals, by continuing to pass laws to make us criminals of the state. Well, and this is part of the overall system, the overall package of tyrannical system and control that I believe
the new form
that this
of tyranny
government is involved with.
The new form, agreeing with you because so it sounds good. You're right. The new form of tyranny, and it's not really new, but they're really accelerated now, is overregulation without representation. You know, you just create these huge bureaucracies, and they start growing and growing, and they start telling you how to live, and they write more and more laws. And it's not that all these laws are enforced, but anytime they want to get you for something, make no mistake, everybody is breaking hundreds of laws every day.
But it's important to mention that
these laws are crap.
Majority of them are victimless laws.
Absolutely.
It's not. It's the laws.
No, we don't punish murderers. We don't punish criminals.
Criminals against the state.
You got it.
And that's very important to
People
understand.
that don't kiss the butt of government.
And this is why we keep going back to the Second Amendment, and why we need an independent militia. The Second Amendment was not put in the Constitution to protect ourselves, to go out duck hunting or anything like this. It was to protect ourselves, and specifically presented in there to protect ourselves from a government running amok, a tyrannical type system. And
but guns are bad.
The more you continue to study this, the more you see that this is exactly
get rid of the guns, we'll be
where
safe.
we're heading with.
You're not loving. You're not loving.
See, that's what we've got to deal with, though, Charlie, is the people that are against the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms. They just feel good. If we get rid of the guns, we'll all be safe. Forget the fact that it's an inanimate object, it's a tool. Forget the fact they think guns sneak out at night and shoot people, and that's why they're going to get rid of the Second Amendment. It's pretty much gone already. And the government came out and said, you ran over some kangaroo rats. This was his land he bought and had permits to farm on. He had to have a permit to farm. He went forward, and it's like Russia or something. He went in there, and what happened to him? He got his tractors taken. He got everything. It took him $100,000 of litigation, and they finally said, you know what? his experts got the rats. These aren't even kangaroo rats. These are normal rats. But by then he lost everything, and the government said, okay. And now he's suing them. But who cares? The government can just pay him back with our own money. Government can run up any bills it wants, have anybody sue they want, because they'll just use our money to pay us back. And the scam goes on and on. You can't fight City Hall. What you got to do is realize that government isn't our friend. We got to slash government dramatically. We got to get control of our school systems again. We got to, stop the division, stop the hate, and do something real now. Of our what we're saying. Hey
Thank
man,
you, Charlie.
Jeff is a good old boy. We almost strangle each other sometimes because we're so hyper. We're sitting there yelling and screaming, trying to get the information out because we care. It's like you see a nice woman get in a car with two murderers, and you try to say, you're tied down. And you're saying, please don't get in there. I know they're bad. She says, they're good. You're an extremist. We'll be safe once government has things. That's the analogy I like to use.
But
we're just screaming.
One analogy you got to use, Alex, before you go on to the next
Sure.
circuit, is that all of these people that are brainwashed, that's really what they are. They're brainwashed.
They're manipulated twits that emotionally.
They're thinking to believe that this government is there to protect the lives and property.
They are.
And that's originally what it was for, but the fact is now they're taking lives and property of the people. But the point is that this government, and the way it's set it up now to redistribute wealth.
It has an
basically what it does,
unexhaustible appetite.
It
gobbles up
but
everything.
But the point is that this government now that we have set up cannot do any of the supposed goods that it does.
Thanks for the call.
By not doing something bad first, and that is steal from everybody else. Right now, there are people going to jail for the IRS, they're losing their homes and their properties to the county taxes.
Well, they should have paid their taxes.
Which is a form of.
They should have paid their taxes.
Yeah,
they're not paying their fair share. They're only paying 52% on average in some form of tax. What's wrong with you? The government's the good, loving creature. And it's time that you stand up for government, Mr. Davis.
If we want real liberty and freedom, we've got to break the shackles
I think you're dangerous.
Who claim that they are doing us for our good, but in fact are initially stealing from all the paupers before they do.
Of course, me and Jeff are just playing roles here. I'm just being an obnoxious government type. I'm Alex Jones. That's Jeff Davis. We'll be getting to Casey's call. We appreciate her holding. Feel free to get in. 390-5989. Or Texas told
on 98.9 KJFK.
Well, we keep playing that one. We keep playing that one for some reason. I think my producer loves to hear that. So I'll probably hear it another dozen times or so. Stars at night, the night divides the day. No, excuse me. I'm sorry. We're showing you people out there that we can kind of be funny here. I'll tell you one thing. My old producer. Doing a pretty good job. He's brand new. He's been training for months, but they're testing him out. He's going to be out doing Bill Simonson's shows, 6 to 8 p.m., the sports show up here. But we've been getting all these calls, and old Eric keeps hanging up on them somehow. So I apologize, y'all. We do want y'all on the air. The line's been jammed about 6 times. I'm just joking. Boy, don't be talking in the studio. I like being mean to people. No. Seriously, we're here with Jeff Davis, and I want to say one thing. Thanks to his producer, who's almost as good as Eric Gerstenberg, my fantastic producer. They said Eric's one of their best producers for how quick he's learned. He's doing a fantastic job. But your producer, Mike Hanson, up here filming this, is going to be on television. He's got
Yeah, well, let me just mention real quick. What do you call it down here? Time Warner?
Yeah, Time Warner Cable.
Time Warner. If you got also Cablevision,
Time Warner.
We have a access program that's hot, folks, hot.
Now you got to play mine now.
Monday nights. 7:30 p.m. on Channel 10, and if you like what we're talking about on here, like I said, we have interviews from folks like John Trockman, Militia, Montana, Jack McLam, Operation Vampire Killer. We have good guests. We have former council members. We have just a wide. Alex has been on the show before. We have a wide view of opinions, largely similar to ours, though.
Oh,
the
yeah.
government is way too big.
Well,
way
Jeff,
too
you're a lot more open-minded. I wouldn't say open-minded, but something you do is you told me you don't think that the UFO thing is aliens. You don't agree with a lot of the real kooky stuff, but you still allow that on. You still give vent to that. Unlike our mainstream media, you are open. You say, hey, get your say. You let them on the program. That's why I admire what you're doing. You're doing a good job.
Let me just mention that, Alex. We have, I do believe that there's UFOs. But I don't believe in the space critter per se. I
No,
believe
it's
that
just military hardware.
It's slave master technology that they will use against us if they need to.
Well, people just
for example, this
I've got to
SD
qualify. People just probably laughed at you because I don't know. They just don't want to believe anything that's not set.
Well, let me just
Well,
mention,
hold on. The world
I
is.
spent 13 years in the
I
United States
understand.
Air Force.
I understand. I've seen all
and
your medals.
I know that
I've seen your medals. Been over your place.
I know that the technology that they're giving us, for example, the SR-71 Blackbird reconnaissance jet.
We found out about it 30 years after it came out.
14 years after the technology was there, finally
30.
it was released to the
It's
public.
30.
So if they are
According to Discovery Channel, I don't
hiding,
know.
if you ask my opinion, Alex, national security is
It's an excuse, an
it's-
umbrella.
It's synonymous with cover-up.
You got it.
This government is corrupt, and they are covering up things, technology that they are not releasing to the American people.
Well, that's a really good point, and something that we should hit on is I haven't been in the Air Force, but when I watch Discovery Channel is so great because they just tell you like it is, and I'm not saying they're absolutely right, but it's no big deal to them. They said that the SR-71 Blackbird was manufactured and set up after the U-2 spy plane, which they were still using a while back, and they developed the SR-71 Blackbird after it, and they said it was secret until like the 1969, and I believe they started development in the early 50s. So I guess you're right, it's about 20 years. Well, I think they let out some prototype pictures, but it wasn't being flown in front of the public until the 70s. I've heard all different numbers.
So I believe that the technology that some of these people are claiming that they're seeing
Well, look at the stealth bomber.
are slave master
Look at the stealth bomber.
technology that
Yeah.
they will use against us
Yeah.
when they implement their new world order if
Well,
they,
in 89
if they deem necessary.
Well, in '89, the lines are totally jammed, all of them, all 10 of them. In '89, in '87, I always say '89, I said '87. People, I just come at you unscripted, blasting away. And remember, George Bush was out there, and everybody was out there, and they rolled out in California. They rolled out the stealth bomber, the B-2 bomber. It ends up that thing was developed 20 years before. So I don't know all the numbers on the Blackbird. I forget because I don't watch Discovery Channel that much anymore because I don't have that much time. But I mean, because I love those weapons shows. I have to admit, I love the way watch those missiles slam in and stuff. But think about it. So I would agree. NASA says in 10 years they're going to have a space plane. Well, I guarantee you that means the military's already got one.
Let me just mention one more thing. I spent 4 years in intelligence in the United States Air Force.
But I've seen your medals.
At that time, we thought we were the elite of the intelligence.
Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you, we were nothing.
The
fact
National Security
is,
Administration.
The fact is,
National Security Administration is carte blanche.
what this government really has.
It's a secret military.
It's far advanced over that, and the fact is, like I said earlier, their classification of national security and their classified documents and whatnot is synonymous with cover-up.
And you know why our
That's
government's so big and awesome and powerful? Because it's got good, hard-working people in a free market, a quasi-free market, to build its substance off of. And who are these callers? Did you get their line?
It's right in front of your face.
It's right in front of your face. I'm fixing to kill him. Fixing to kill him. If you put that down on there. All right. Isn't this great entertainment? We're in here. I'm fixing to strangle my producer. Let's go to Casey. Casey, thank you for holding so long. How you doing? And I don't want women flying F-14s because statistically they have a much higher crash ratio. I mean, you pass out whenever you take off the front of one of these carriers. The men pass out. Women have half the upper body strength on average of men. They have less strength and less, they can take less of a beating. And that's a simple fact. It's nothing against women. It's just that more and more has come out, and it's not Alex Jones. I was watching C-SPAN today. The Independent Women's Council, a forum on women in the military, Elaine Donnelly, president for the Center for Military Preparedness. This is a woman who's been in the military, been in intelligence. She's telling people this is very bad for our military. Not just that women shouldn't be in combat roles, but you don't want men and women mixed together in combat. It's just not good to have.
Let me just mention something. I think that this particular issue is just another one of them
It's a division. It's
divide
a division
and conquer. It's just like.
Oh, Lord. Well, I'm great that your sister's in there, but what you're seeing is the government's taking over every... No, it's fine.
Contend the fact that that nobody, men or women, should be participating in the U.S. military under these conditions for no better reasons than international bankers can get richer. And that's essentially what it is when you look at Korea, Vietnam, World War I, World War II, where people are creating and financing these wars and sending our young people to go die in swamplands of Vietnam. So the whole idea, this is a division type issue, and the fact is, as long as our military being used as a world policeman for the UN and for the World Bank and the IMF, nobody should be participating in that. America and the Constitution.
It's protecting foreign banks.
All it's doing is it's a way for the international bankers to manipulate us, to gain more resources, more power over us. And as long as we continue to participate in those types of phony wars, I'm against the whole. That's why I got out of it, essentially.
Well, listen, I want to back up
where
something Jeff's saying. I want to back up something first.
Our military should be used as a constitutional state to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. That means the domestic United States. That doesn't mean we should be flying our 18-year-old sons and daughters over to Vietnam to go die in some swampland because the UN Security Council came up with a resolution that we should be over.
That's just what I want to talk about. Something I want to back up. I have read The Path to Power and several other books about LBJ. And I'll agree the Democrats and Republicans are just about equally corrupt on this, but then people still got to vote for Democrats because they tell them they love them. But past that, what we've got to look at and what we've got to understand is that the Democrats started the Vietnam War. They got us deep into it, and LBJ was heavily connected with all the oil and banking interests of the U.S., and that war was not a war. It was all about a big money pit for them to make money out of. And whenever I see Lady Bird going around telling us how to live our lives, I'm sorry for the old lady, but her husband was a travesty and one of the worst presidents that we've ever had in the history of our nation. Yeah, I'll take a drink, thank you. But seriously, people, what we got to talk about, what we got to get back to, is that if we're going to have a war, it's to oppose somebody like Hitler. It's to oppose China. If China should start trying to take over other countries, we're going to have to oppose them because next he'll take over the whole world.
Well,
that is what it's all about. So I am for military intervention, but you're right. Vietnam was all about making money. LBJ controlled that war. Even McNamara said this. I've seen it in documentaries. LBJ had a big map. He controlled the war. He said, don't mess with Cambodia. Only fight in this one little country. He knew the Chinese were sending troops to attack us. He knew the Chinese were sending Cambodians to attack us. So why didn't we fight that war for real? Why didn't we fight it full force? Why didn't we do something about it? Why didn't we fight that war for real? You're exactly right, Jeff. It was all about a big money sink to sink us in and make lots of cash for LBJ interest.
Let me just admit, frankly...
I'm saying that in Austin. That takes big balls.
Yeah, go ahead, Casey.
Yeah, we're fixing to go to break, but go ahead. Have all our military be women then. I don't want to mix the two together. It is bad for combat readiness. You need a cohesive unit that's bonds
I disagree.
Together.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why, Casey, because if we have a legitimate enemy that invades the United States, that's right. If they come into the domestic, I guarantee you.
Of course. There were German women that fought World War II.
If some nation comes in,
I disagree with the whole deal.
Let me just mention, if some nation comes into the state of Florida, I guarantee you, Casey, you would have men and women from Maine to Seattle to Boston defending our Constitution and our republic here. But when it gets further than that, and these phony wars, I don't believe any of us, on good conscience, should be participating.
Yeah, baby. Government needs to apologize. They need to do something. But they're not going to apologize. They're only going to increase more and more of their corrupt interest. They're only going to go forward more and more. And that's what gets me really angry. I thought the mic was up. I was already talking in the middle of a sentence. But I tell you, Eric Gerstenberg is doing a really damn good job tonight. We're going 10 minutes over tonight because Sharkman set up down there at the Capital City Comedy Club where Larry the Cable Guy, who's hilarious. I'm going down there after this to see him. You want to see me, the biggest celebrity? And also, Bill Simonson might be down there, BS on Sports. You want to see Sharkman, the program director and the star of the Sharkman show that comes on after me. Roll on down there after the show. Because I'm going to be down there hanging out with everybody. The lines are all full. I appreciate Jeff and Mike, his producer, coming down. I appreciate Mike Hanson filming this.
Can I mention something quick?
Sure, go ahead.
I want to get our comment line, folks. We do have a television show like Alice. Alex has one too on Wednesday and Thursday nights.
You got it.
But if you have any particularly information, we're interested in the documentation of the treason that's taken place in this country for the last 80 years or so.
You got it.
It's area code 512-370-9558. Give us a call at 370-9558. We have our show Monday night, 7:30, Channel 10. What do you call it? Time Warner?
Yeah, Time Warner Communications. It's changed. It used to be Austin Cablevision. But
And
the
give us
phone
a
book is
call.
still Austin Cablevision.
And I do appreciate KJFK, Alex, and his crew down here to allowing us the opportunity to present our.
And I'll
our
tell you,
views.
that's something about KJFK, and I brag on this all the time, Jeff. I brag on it all the time that 98.9 KJFK. Whenever I asked them, I said, a lot of these stations say don't say this, don't say that. I've talked to them. Some stations have called me before, and they were like, well, we just want a show that's like this. We want you to be a Republican. And I mean, I think Republicans, unlike you, are a better choice than Democrats. But you're right; both parties are controlled pretty much by the same interest. Foreign money.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is the biggest interest. I mean, this is not a question out there. This is not a conspiracy. International banks are the biggest thing in the world. Okay, multinational banks control everything, and people that don't want to understand that are a bunch of idiots. And I'm sorry, but past that. They told me, they said, you get on there and you say whatever you want. Don't yell fire in the theater. Don't say you're going to, kill somebody. And I never said it anyway, so it's great. And that's why I think 98.9 KJFK is great. But, I mean, look, they got Howard Stern on all the stuff. He says he's hilarious. He's on in the morning. Then you got G. Gordon Liddy, who's, super right-wing and hilarious. Then you got Don and Mike, who are totally hilarious, just comedy. And then BS on Sports from 6 to 9 p.m.
They also have Art Bell. Right?
Oh, Art Bell's on late at night. I was about to say.
Which a lot of people, I've been told this Art Bell.
Totally alternative. So, and real news. This station's like balls to the walls, man, all the way to the maximum. And,
I've been on a lot of shows, Alec, and I can say that you told me the place, was kind of a dump. I think it's kind of a nice facility down here.
Jeff's trying to get me in trouble. No, I've been in a couple radio stations.
No, it's actually a nice facility.
Yeah, this place is real nice.
And it's close to my house, and I appreciate the opportunity. But from KJFK, the First Amendment at its best.
And they do it, man. I mean, I talked to some other radio stations, and they're like, yes, we just don't want anything provocative, or we just want to provide a service to the community. We want to talk about Fuzzy Zeller and racism.
Yeah, I don't.
We want to talk, yeah.
Jeff Davis show don't get into foolishness like that. We're talking about how we're being manipulated around, how we're living in a police state, have been for a long time, how the Federal Reserve's a scam.
Well, look at this right here.
Core issues.
Look at and I've been promising for 2 breaks to get to this, and if y'all bear with me, I'll real fast. I've got yesterday's Oscar Statesman that says McVeigh depicted as a warped patriot. So now patriots are like this guy. If he did do it, execute him. But I want to tell people out there, new stuff has come out about this. The FBI, and I've got the Oscar Statesman from about a week ago, April 20th, 1987, World and National News. It says prosecutors in McVeigh case face a tough road. This is even from Oscar Statesman. Report of flubs by the FBI's latest setback in Oklahoma City bombing, and it goes on. They call flubs tampering with evidence.
Let me mention one thing on that. We're going to be running a 20-minute video on our show Monday night that actually shows where for the first day or two it was 3 or 4 or 5 multiple bombs.
Exactly.
And the news people talking about all these bombs.
Seismographs picked up multiple explosions.
And all of it. Since that point, it's been reduced down to one bomb. There's something phony going on about this whole Oklahoma City deal. If you ask my opinion, Alex, I think it's the feds and the wicked devils who rule this world and some phony group that they got to blow that building up.
Total BS.
And so they could come in. If you notice, the next day,
just like Hitler burnt the Reichstag.
Clinton,
and blamed it on the Jews.
Clinton, the
terrorism bill.
The savior came out with the anti-terrorism bill.
And then after Flight 800, which people say they saw a missile, even the media's reported that now. After that Flight 800, he got another terrorism bill. After the Atlanta thing, another terrorism bill. Every time somebody scratches a fingernail, and I'm not saying that the Oklahoma City thing was out. I think it's terrible. Whoever did it should be executed. But the funny thing is the National Geological Survey picked up 2 explosions. The University of Oklahoma picked up 2 explosions.
And the media was reporting that.
And they reported it for 2 days, and then suddenly you never heard about it again. It was kook conspiracy.
And one quick thing on them lines. Quickly, Hegelian principle. If you ask me how the slave
divide and conquer.
If you ask how the international slave masters are controlling and manipulating the minds of the American public and the world public,
divide and conquer.
You create the crisis in step 1, create fear and hysteria in step 2, and come in at step 3 with the solution that they themselves created the problem in 1 and 2. And I believe this is going on continually, along with keeping people focused on issues of no significance like Tiger Woods. But between all these different mechanisms of manipulation, this is how I believe the American public are going to succumb to this new world order.
Bread and circus. Bread and circus.
Just like Rome.
You got it. And keeps people off their minds, while we're busy, crucifying the Jews or the Christians or whoever's causing us some trouble, while the murder and death is going on, while the while the empire has got all is
robbing and ruling.
Yes, exactly. Those that don't know history are doomed to repeat it. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And look at the rise and fall and the decline of the Roman Empire. They got degenerate. They got decadent. They got passe. They didn't care anymore.
Pedophiles, sodomites.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes all. It runs the whole gamut. And look what happened. Just like America, they had forces all over the world, all over the known world. They were suppressing people. They had lots of political prisoners back home.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Sounds very, very familiar. And absolutely. And so that's what I'm trying to get through to the people out there. And so you've got this McVeigh thing. You've got and it calls him a warped patriot. Yesterday's paper, and then it says smells like trouble, talks about a grease pit behind people's house. This is the cover of the paper. This is very important. Grease pits behind people's houses that smell. Senate ratifies weapons treaty. I guess that's always important that Clinton's getting to take more of our rights away and give it to foreign bodies, like the World Bank and the UN and other groups, taking power away from us and taking it to the federal government, and the federal government hands it to its masters, the foreign corporations. And again, I'm for free market. I'm for all little corporations and all the businesses.
But this isn't free market. This is fraud.
Absolutely. All the businesses are being run roughshod by a few elite ones. And right here.
And just mention that the IRS, the collection agency for the Federal Reserve,
terrorist organization.
Right, and it's actually a collection agency for the Federal Reserve Bank. So you think your taxes are going into the Treasury, folks? Before it does that, maybe it goes into the Federal Reserve Bank.
And something that's
a private corporation.
Something that I can, and that's in most phone books. It's listed in the business, not in the government. Something we have to think about, though. Something we have to understand is all through history, people have not wanted to see the truth. It's group psychology, to be apathetic, hand to mouth, bread and circus, like we were saying.
Sports.
You got it.
They love you in their arenas, just like the old Roman gladiators. Get all the old slaves into the Roman.
Get them busy on a Saturdays and Sundays rather than thinking about.
That's
their
how
life.
You control the masses,
how they're getting
folks.
screwed. They start thinking about who's winning the football game. And listen, I listen to sports. I watch sports. I love sports. I'm not knocking it.
But you understand that it's purely entertainment.
I don't get totally overtaken by it.
And you're getting screwed by the.
I don't get totally overtaken by it, and I don't obsess on it. I know that my family's future, leaving my kids some semblance of a free market where they can go to school where they want, where they can train, do what they want, where they can raise their kids like they want, and even have kids. The UN's got plans in the books to, make people pay huge taxes to have kids everywhere. I mean, it just goes on and on. And look at today's paper, Pioneering Campaign Reform. This is today's paper, and it goes on to say. It tries to explain how up in Maine they've just got this thing where the government gives the candidates money. Oh, more power to the government. Totally get rid of the free market. They've turned all this Clinton corruption, all this campaign corruption, they've turned it into a huge excuse. They've misdirected our energy.
And let me mention this.
To get rid of the free market system where only the media and only the government will have power, and they'll dole out the money to the candidates they want.
And let me
We're
mention
being ushered into a serious system.
Let me mention this about another fraud. You talk about this changing the. They're talking about letting the network media provide free time for candidates.
Absolutely.
It will only be the candidates of choice that will get the free time.
And that's the scariest point. And we forgot about
it's all part of the fraud, really.
What did I do with those? Man, I just see that's the thing. When you hear
Alex
Alex
it's been hot, Alex.
Oh man, it's getting damn hot.
It's gone.
Well, let's go to Sharon. Sharon, how you doing? 1933, the War and Emergency Powers Act, where imagine. Our representative democracy is on a train track where we elect representatives, local, state, and national. Well, now they sign in executive orders under our wonderful know-it-all big government daddy, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and exactly, and underneath that, they can switch the train to the other track, which is martial law.
Who was an agent?
Absolutely, he was an agent of corrupt interest.
Right.
Oh, powerful people never are controlled by anybody, Jeff.
Right.
That's a conspiracy.
Right.
Nobody ever owes anybody anything. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I promoted his book on my show 2 weeks ago. Angels don't play this hard.
You got it. Well, past
Hey,
that.
hey, let me just mention to you, Sharon, you sound very informative, or very informative. Give us a call, 512-370-9558.
That's the
Will
comment
you
line.
do that?
Give it to him one more time.
Area code 512-370-9558. We have a regular weekly Monday night live show, and we talk about all this stuff to the people of Central Texas.
You got it.
God
bet.
bless you, dear.
Listen, I appreciate that call. Well, the lines are jammed. Earlier, I pretty much got totally heated because me and Jeff are two peas in a pod. And just when you got this much energy, you know, go flying around, it gets pretty wild. I haven't gotten this, I mean, it's just, really, it's right there for
And
everybody.
you love it.
I do, I love it. It's right there for everybody to see, right in front of your faces, that you're getting
It's
conned.
not even a conspiracy. It's right there in front
No,
of you.
I mean, the CFR, Council on Foreign Relations, I've seen them on C-SPAN with Chairman Wilson of the World Bank there, and Madeleine Albright, you know, our new Secretary of State going, "You're so gracious, you're so wonderful, oh, we're so lucky to have you here with us, Your Excellency, our new global power strategy," using words like this, and stronger world government powers in our new charter in '97 for the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund, and just all these control apparatuses, GATT, NAFTA. It's all a big lie. It's all about bringing down our borders and gutting.
And don't forget organized religion.
You got it. You got it. Gutting. Yeah. Telling us to lay
World
down.
Council of
Don't.
Churches.
Yeah. Never stand up. Never fight. We need
Right.
real preachers like the ones that stood up in the '60s against.
Well,
what
how
was going
about
on
the
with
ones that?
blacks.
How about the ones that found the American Revolution?
You got.
They were the first
We
ones
need some
defending
real
liberty.
preachers. Yeah. Well, absolutely. Listen, we'll be right back in a few minutes, and just think about that. We need real preachers, real leaders like Martin Luther King that'll stand up against the corrupt establishment and stand up and do something real. Preachers out there, priests out there, rabbis out there, you know, gurus, all religions. Get out there and do something real. Don't just worry about making money and conning your subjects, conning your listeners, conning your followers.
And get off the obey Caesar business.
You got it. Do what it takes. Rise up and be real human beings that stand up for the little guys. I'm Alex Jones. We're going 10 minutes over tonight, and then after that's going to be the Shark Man Show live from the Capital City Comedy Club. We'll be right back with more of The Real Spin. I am fired up. We'll be getting your calls, baby.
Hey, it's going good.
Get in there and do what you want.
I'm Mrs. Austin. The First Amendment at its best.
This is The Real Spin right here on 98.9 KJFK. We're going over a while because Shark Man's down at the Capital City Comedy Club, where Larry the Cable Guy, one of the featured comedians on this radio station, is doing shows tonight. I'll be down there later. Me and my producer Eric Gerstenberg will be down there. Jeff Davis is still in the studio with us. We'll probably be going for probably 10 minutes more or even longer, just as soon as we get the call and they tell us to go ahead and go to the live rock and roll show that Sharkman's doing. He's got a fantastic program. Then after that, it's the Robbie Jack show. And there's just a lot of stuff going on. I explain to you how you're getting conned, how you're getting manipulated, and trying to explain to people that there's nothing but a bunch of fluff and a bunch of hype in the media.
Okay.
And the media more and more just covers its own butt and tries to explain, and so much new information's coming out. First you see it on the internet, and I'm not saying everything on the internet's true, of course it's not. Everything in print isn't true. But first you see it on the internet, talk radio, shortwave radio, access television, places like KJFK that have the will and are just total pioneers and stuff like Howard Stern. You first start seeing this stuff and it pours out, and then the media first says it's a bunch of bull, but then after they can't disprove it any longer, they go ahead and start telling you it's true. And again, for new listeners, back in the last hour, I talked about this, and I have to do it again real fast. The New York Times from this Wednesday, it says, and this is the cover page, April 23rd, 1997, this Wednesday, it says, the grand jury has heard extensive evidence of possible obstruction of the administration of justice, Mr. Starr said in court papers. He also told Judge Wright that the grand jury was devoting much of its time to examining possible concealment and destruction of evidence and intimidation of witnesses. Bill Clinton and his crony slaves intimidating witnesses? This is getting pretty hardcore, even though, I've known this for 6-8 months, and now finally it's starting to come out. So there you go. This is true information we're giving you out there, people. Stop trusting the servants. That's all the media's turned into, is a corrupt servant. Is that true or not, Jeff? I get just fired up about it.
Let me just mention this, Alex. I've been on hundreds of radio and television shows in and out of the media
Yeah, I know.
for the last 6 years, and I can honestly say that this experience I had down here tonight,
We're going wild.
Well, it's nice facilities. It's relaxed down here, and I can truly say that KJFK is truly the First Amendment at its best.
So now you know whenever you be bragging about some other radio station, I'd say, Jeff, you haven't been down to 98.9. They'll let you go wild. In fact, last night on the phone, when I first talked to you about this, you said, Alex, now am I going to be able to go guns? Am I going to be able to be hardcore? And I said, of course you are. And you go, all right. Now, have I let you be hardcore?
No, it's been an excellent program. I appreciate your producer. I appreciate you having the opportunity. Appreciate the calls. And appreciate KJFK for the opportunity.
You bet, man. KJFK's it. And I can be real smooth and be Mr. Broadcaster and talk to everybody like this. And I can talk to all day and I can be precise and never stutter over one word. But the reason I'm the way I am is I want people to know I'm truthful. So I let it all hang out. And that's why I like you, Jeff. You've been doing that. Let's go to PJ. PJ, thanks for holding so long.
Well, he is absolutely an agent.
It is true that Bill Clinton, and this is not a conspiracy, Bill Clinton in 1967 and 1968 flew twice to Moscow when it was 20 below for anti-government meetings, anti-U.S. meetings, anti-war meetings in a communist country when the Iron Curtain was so thick, nobody went in there unless they were a total spy. Now, I don't know what to say about Bill Clinton. It's true.
Let me mention this too. All of the deaths. There have been several dozen deaths surrounding the Vince Foster incident, the Mena, Arkansas, the drug ring connection, which our program has interviewed Terry Reed, who was lived. He didn't investigate the Mena drug operations. He lived it as a pilot in Mena, Arkansas, where he specifically he wrote a book, Compromised Bush, Clinton, and the CIA. The fact is, Bill Clinton has been an establishment phenom for a long time. They groomed him from a early age, and he is definitely, he rammed NAFTA through, GATT through. He's pushing he got the anti-terrorism bill through. He's pushing for gun control. This guy is totally un-American. He's doing the One Worlders agenda, and he's working for them.
But listen, guys,
but it's not just
Clinton.
Clinton.
Safe?
Let me just mention,
Sure.
it's not just Clinton. George Bush was a member of the
That's true.
director of the Council on Foreign. These fellows are all a bunch of One Worlders. If they're Skull and Bones, they're secret society folks, and they want a new world order, and that's the bottom line. And then,
No, I don't recall. Ask yourselves, 52% of everything in this country is some form of government, and government controls everything else with endless armies of bureaucrats out running wild, totally unaccountable, unelected. So yes, half our country is now socialist, and in 19 years, just federal, it's going to be 82% of everything, and then that state and local, it'll be 100%. So 19 years from now is going to be their D-Day, their takeover day, and it'll be a nice day in 19 years. There won't be any police coming down the street taking you off to jail. It'll just be our whole country will be a socialist system. Productivity will plummet, but don't worry, a handful of elites will have all the power, and then they can go forward with whatever next degenerate plans they have.
it's peace, and they're promising us peace and prosperity by the same folks and their ancestors that brought us Korea, Vietnam, World War II, and all of this. It's a phony deal. The world is a lie right now, and it's anything of any significance. They've either created or financed it, and that's why so many people may not understand what we're talking about. But the fact is,
It's just not politically popular to talk about this. Nobody wants us to talk about this.
These guys are one worlders, and the bottom line is they want their new world order that Adam Weishaupt. Yes, information out to you because.
Well, we can't do that in here. Look, no, this is commercial radio. This isn't access television. Now, seriously, out there, what I want to say to virtues when they make fun of activists and people that try to do something, we should get unobsessed with sexual issues and all these little dispersions, fluff issues, the new flavor of M&Ms or something that you see on the cover of the paper
Right.
sometimes. We need to get back to monetary issues and realize that monetary systems are what control countries, and go down to the IRS and get the pamphlet, their own pamphlet. I'll show a pie chart in the back, and over 20% of our budget goes to just pay interest on the debt, and most of that goes to foreign countries. That is a serious problem when the Chinese are buying and paying for us.
We also need to focus on the fact. What's your first name, caller? EJ. We need to focus on the fact that we are being violated almost daily. I mean, anybody
Thanks for the call, DJ.
Anybody that every time we're stopped by local law enforcement, have the BATF come knocking on our door, whether people are being shot at Ruby Ridge, Idaho, burned in Waco, Texas. We are being violated. We have a government that's running amok, that's out of control, de facto shadow government, and unless we come to that realization, we're not going to be able to deal with the issues at hand.
Well, again, you know, people out there, it'd probably be more comfortable for them just to not believe us and just let their taxes keep going up. And we've got so many goods and services in this country because we used to be free market that there's still a semblance of a good system. You know, that's what we're talking about. Gary, thanks for holding. How you doing? Fine, man. He's a Democrat. He's not a socialist. Sure, go ahead. Gary, hold on, because I have to run over you. Gary, what are you doing, man? I've got to finish saying this. We've got to defang the teeth of the monster, and that is the IRS. Now go ahead and go. Yeah.
If you study the globalist plans, I mean, these guys are some real connivers. I don't know how much you've studied.
Total subterfuge.
But the fact is, I'm a little bit concerned that the Antichrist enemies that rule this world right now
I love that word.
May be,
they fit the bill.
They're not going to easily relinquish their power. So so I'm a little bit concerned that they may be manipulating something away from an income tax to maybe put us into something even worse.
Tell us why we should tear it out by the roots. Why don't you give us a few examples about how the bureaucrats, the IRS, are out of control. The IRS itself has had to fire hundreds of its own employees for using information in the computers for their own profit. And you call the IRS, they won't even answer the phone sometimes. They're just absolutely out of control. Find them, and I've seen them. The reason I like the IRS is I've seen people that aren't even making very much money that help old ladies across the street, that are good, nice people that just want to raise their kids and just eat out once a week. And I see the IRS come down on them, and I've had my own dad who makes quite a bit of money. I mean, not a ton, but some money. I saw him always do his taxes, do them right, do all this, and the IRS way back in '86. Came down on him and said, we've changed the tax laws retroactively, he owes all this money. And he said, what do you mean? I've been paying according. Yeah, but we've changed the law. And so he said, okay. And he was in their office years later after he was fixing to, not beat him, but at least have a stalemate with him and prove that they were wrong. He said, we all sure are being congenial, but y'all are acting. He goes, well, and then the IRS people said, well, we're white-collar criminals, Mr. Jones. And I've seen them screw around so many nice people. So when some bureaucrat or some pro-big government person, some so-called liberal tells me, oh, just pay your fair share, we got to have taxes, I say they're supporting a protection racket like the mafia. That's how the IRS acts. That's exactly how they behave. We got to do something about it. And this has been a hell of a show, I think, just because it's a rant, but it's a rant that's based on reality. We're fighting for what we're doing. We're trying to get this information out to people, and we're just going as long and as hard as we have to get this out to the people. Because there's a labyrinth of corruption. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Oh, you got it. You're not lying. Well, tell us some strategies of how we can defang the monster that is the IRS in this country today. 15 minutes over just because they needed me to. Sharkman show's next. They're going to have a whole bunch of stuff going on, a whole bunch of information, rock and roll, getting off all these hardcore subjects. I'm Alex Jones. This is The Real Spin. I'm on every Saturday night from 6 to 8 p.m. right here on 98.9 KJFK. Tune in during the week. I think it's the best radio station in town. It's not because I even work here. They've just got such a wide diversity of stuff. Comedy, G. Gordon Liddy, Howard Stern, just the whole gamut. BS on sports. Get out to Capital City Comedy Club. We're fixing to have a live broadcast from there. Ty's in the studio. Thanks to my producer, Eric. Did a good job. And folks, don't forget the Jeff Davis Show. You can hear it. Every Monday from 7 to 10:30 p.m. on cable channel 10. And don't forget my show, Exposing Mass Media and The Real Spin. It's on Wednesday and Thursday nights. I'll see you next week. Thanks for calling.
Well,
So folks, stay tuned right here on this channel, Hanson Archives, for more classic Alex Jones, Jeff Davis, and all the other good patriots fighting the good fight for the last 25, 30 years. And hopefully death to the New World Order. Stay tuned right here. Be sure to write us there at that address if you can help us get these archives up quicker. And our phone number's there if you need to get a hold of us. Thanks a lot and God bless. Continue to watch our ongoing series here on Mike Hanson Archives and Hanson Archives.